Blog Talk Radio.
Please take all the necessary precautions to protect your Constitution while listening to this broadcast. 3, 2, 1. Coming to you live via the internet. It's time for Rage Against the Regime. Let's get ready to rumble! Finally, a show for patriots, defending the Constitution and uncovering the truth at every turn. Bringing you exclusive interviews and covering the topics the mainstream media doesn't dare to touch. Call in and join the discussion at 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. And now, here are your hosts, Bobby Who's the Man and Becky Williams. Rage Against the Regime.
I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Hello, this is Becky Williams, and I am your host today, and Bobby Ritter is on the line as well. Bobby, say hello to the audience, brother. How are you doing today?
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Just a nice little chilly day here in Chicago, and, kind of looking forward to hearing your show today.
Well, I'm glad that you joined me today, brother. We don't usually do a show at this hour, but I'm very excited about our guest today. We've got Sunette Bridges all the way from South Africa. This woman is amazing. She's a good Christian woman. She's an artist. She has some music out there that I would encourage folks to give a listen to. Look her up on YouTube. You can find her, Sunette Bridges. She's a Christian artist. And she is an activist, and she is currently facing charges in South Africa for speaking out about the white genocide and the BEE movement and a number of other topics that are going on concerning enslavement and squatter camps and the actual brutal murders of the whites in South Africa that are being pushed out of the inner city to live in deplorable conditions. Bobby, you've had contact with them today. I've got someone on the line, area code 661. Who have I got? Hello? Area code 661. You're on live? Pardon?
Yeah, that's actually her, Becky.
Oh, okay.
That should be
Sunette.
I'm hoping. Yes,
Hi.
I'm here, Becky.
Welcome to the show, sister. I am good. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time that you're giving to us today. I know that it's a late hour over there in South Africa, but I have promoted your show for the past I guess 4 or 5 days pretty heavily. So I expect we're going to have a very broad audience today. Please, Sunette, introduce yourself to the listeners out there. If I didn't give you a good enough accolade or an accurate accolade, please correct me.
Thank you. There was more than plenty, but hello to all the listeners. I am Sunette Bridges, speaking to you from a warm, sultry South Africa. It is about 8 p.m. here, so it's not really that late, and really looking forward to talking to you all tonight.
Sunette, I received from a young lady who is also in South Africa that's a good friend of mine, a good Christian woman, just prior to speaking with Roxy about inviting you on and her trying to connect us. She had sent me an article on the white squatter situation over in South Africa, and she is also working diligently to try to expose the truth about what's going on over there. Can you give us some more information on the true condition about what is going on in Africa, and why have they brought you up on charges?
Well, firstly, regarding the charges, Becky, I have a Facebook page that I call the Sunette Bridges News page, on which for several years I have reported on the murders committed against white South Africans, especially murders on farms. We have more than 3,500 of our farmers have already been murdered since the African National Congress took over this country. Now, that isn't, at the moment we have about an average of 60 farmers per year that are brutally murdered. In the first 12 days of this year, 9 people were murdered on farms. And these are white people that are murdered by black attackers. They're not just murdered. I mean, they are tortured. The women are raped. One of the most recent cases, a couple was murdered, an elderly couple, the husband 72, his wife 70. They tied them both to a single bed and...
What is that, Bobby? Bobby.
I'm a flag-waving patriot.
Sunette, I have no idea why that happened.
We had a little bit of a musical interlude.
That's not from me, Becky. I'm muted.
Well, it looks like we've got some government intervention today, Sunette. Continue on. We don't let them intimidate us.
All right. So we had they tied the couple to a single bed, and they took turns in raping this 70-year-old lady. Then they took them out onto the farm. They shot her husband in front of her, and then they placed her on top of her dead husband and shot her as well. This happened 3 weeks. So, and this is what is happening in this country at the moment. On average, about 18 white South Africans are murdered every single month by black attackers. 60% of these people are elderly folk over the age of 65. They are simply, attacked in their homes, tortured, raped, burnt with hot clothes, irons. What is happening to these people is utterly horrendous. And our South African Human Rights Commission has, issued so many statements on this, saying that it's normal crime, that these crimes are being committed because black people are poor and hungry. And now I've spoken out against this for several years, and I am actually being taken to court by the South African Human Rights Commission, saying that I have, by doing this, by reporting on these murders, I have created a platform for hate speech against black people and the harassment of black people.
Wow.
So rather than be concerned about these murders, because they say that they've investigated my page and that they've read the things that I print, and what they are concerned about is not particularly what I've said. They couldn't really point to anything that I've said that could be considered hate speech or incitement to violence, but they say that the angry comments underneath posts like that, underneath the articles about all these murders, are what is deemed hate speech, and that I have created a platform for it. And I have to answer to that in court. I'm due in court again on the 2nd of March, and then the court case will continue on the 20th of April. And it is, yes, it's not extremely pleasant, to know that you have to go to court against your own government, simply because they want you to keep quiet. about what is going on in this country, and I won't, and I will simply have to go and defend my point of view in a court of law.
We're seeing a lot of this oppression by this, not just your government. We're seeing this occur in France. We're seeing it in England, and we're experiencing it right here in the great country of America, where they do not want us to speak out about the truth of atrocity, and it doesn't matter if it is speaking the truth on Islam, speaking the truth on the black and white division, and the barbaric things that are happening in Africa. We're starting to see it rise its ugly head in Australia. We have it right here in America. We've got a government department, our DOJ, Department of Justice. His position is over law enforcement and over law itself in our country. And Eric Holder has been the biggest propagator of hatred and division, and even organizing and paying for black riots across our country, which subsequently has cost the lives of some of our police officers here that were murdered.
I read about
it. Yeah, Sunette, it's and Bobby was just telling me right before you came on the show, we have a list of that we can look at that tells us who's listening to our show, what countries are listening to the show. And we've got 26 countries. We have 26 countries right now that are listening to us on a regular basis. And today, one of the things that Bobby informed me of is that someone in the courthouse in Washington is listening to us. So, Bobby, can you elaborate on that? Bobby?
Yeah, I was just going over the demographics and everything, trying to figure out, how many people are listening from each place, and where's the loudest, and so on and so forth, and the biggest audiences, and of course it's coming from the United States, and I found out that Florida is like the number one place, but then I'm going through them all, and 1% at the bottom is Washington. It says Washington Courthouse, Washington, D.C. So, I mean, what does that tell you? Somebody in Washington's listened to us, and I don't know, maybe they want to learn how to try to fix this crazy country that we live in. But yeah, it's just crazy. And let me apologize to you, ladies, and anybody else that's listening. It could get quite loud in here, so I apologize if you hear the noise.
I was trying to mute myself because I was coughing. I do apologize, Bobby. What I think Bobby was saying is he's still at work.
I thought you muted me, so that's fine. Stop talking. But,
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
No, it's, we have people listening to us in 26 different countries. That's been a number that we've generated over the past few months. We have people in Russia, we have people in Africa, we have people in Japan, all over the place. But that's a good thing because we know that we're hitting people, we're reaching out, we're getting the word out to, people in other countries and stuff. And, it's something that makes us feel good and lets us know that people are listening. But one thing that I would like to say to you, Sunette, is I actually have friends that live in Africa, and they live over a couple different parts of Africa. I'm actually a professional dart player, and I play darts. I don't travel out of the country or anything like that. But I used to travel the States and stuff. I've stopped doing it, though. I haven't really been on tour in a long time or anything. But I've accumulated some friends from overseas in Africa and stuff like that. And when the whole I call it a conspiracy theory of the whole Ebola situation. And, our government tried to prime us and say that this was going to be, striking us very hard, very fast, and they were trying to warn us that we had these big crazy things going on and everything else. And my friends from Africa told me, we don't even know what you're talking about. I mean, we do have Ebola here in certain areas, but it's not as bad as they're leading it to believe. Can you talk a little bit about that, or do you have any information about how bad it was in Africa at one time, or was it just like certain areas, or?
Bobby, I'm not very well versed on the subject, but I can tell you that in South Africa they also created quite a panic, saying that it could come to our country at any time, which it obviously hadn't. Ebola is not a new disease. I mean, people have had Ebola up in Africa due to eating bush meat for very many years. And, lots of people have died from the disease. It's terrible. But I don't think on the level that the world was trying to make everybody believe at all. And secondly, a lot of people die from many other diseases and many, many more than died from Ebola. So I couldn't really understand, and from a South African perspective, we couldn't really understand what all this was about. They're sending our doctors and nurses there, they're sending, voluntary staff there, and yet we have so many other issues, so many other problems, malaria, HIV, AIDS, that kills millions more people than Ebola does. So what all of that was about, I'm not sure.
Sure, they say that more people have died from the flu, and yes. You can name all these little diseases that aren't very well known, and more people have died from those diseases than they did from Ebola. But you know what? I won't steer away from what we really brought you on today for. I mean, it was just curiosity that got the best of me about that. I just wanted to actually ask that question. Yeah. But to steer more to what's going on with you, we know that you are very vocal, that you speak out, you want the truth to be known, you want to talk about the genocide, and you want to talk about your court case. So, Becky, I know Becky was trying to get into it a little bit. So why actually in the United States, we're used to the government coming and trying to give us a hard time over different things like us. Becky gets the NSA on her phone all the time. She tries to talk to people. She can't have a conversation. They block her out. They do this. They do that. I would imagine it's not too much different over there. But, I mean, how is the government acting towards you? I mean, are they treating you, do you feel that you have people following you at times? Or do you feel like, you have to fear for yourself or, anything like that?
Well, Bobby, you can't really say where these kinds of things come from. Obviously, I've had death threats and I've had threats of violence against myself and my family, and you try not to pay too much attention to it because you can't let fear rule your life. I lead quite a normal life. I'm very much aware of my own safety, obviously. I live where it's secure. I try not to travel by myself and try not to travel at night. So yes, I've had over the past couple of years charges brought against me that disappeared. I've been accused of all kinds of nonsense that have disappeared. So, there's been a very active campaign to silence me. But I have to tell you that these campaigns are driven mostly by liberal white people. It's always your biggest problem. I have to tell you that I have not had black people harass me or tell me that, speaking out is a problem for them, or even black people approach me and ask me why am I helping white people. I've not had 1/10 of the opposition from any black person, or apart from now the Human Rights Commission, from government per se, for what I'm doing. My biggest opposition is liberal white people that do not believe that we should speak about these issues, that do not believe that it's correct to help your own people who speak your language, people who share your culture, people who are like family, to us. So my biggest concern is trying to understand why fellow white people are trying to make it so incredibly difficult to get our people help from the outside world, not only for, voices to speak out against the killing of our people, but also voices that will support our causes in trying to help our impoverished people. And like I've said, my biggest opposition has been the white folks in this country.
Well, we see that across the board here, don't we, Bobby?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know what, it's everywhere. You know what, it doesn't matter where you're at. It's all the same, okay, no matter where you go. And, you know what, it's a big problem worldwide. And, you know, it's a damn shame, to be honest with you.
I have to tell you, my own little theory about that, because, you know, people like me, if you speak about black people killing white people, if you help white impoverished people, you often, always actually get labeled a racist. Now, in my humble opinion, nobody can possibly be more racist than a liberal, because it's like they believe that they need to tell black people how to be black, and it's like they believe that black people can't cope without their help, assistance, voice, white people fighting on behalf of black people, fighting their battles for them, pretending to know their minds, pretending to know what they want better than what they do. And as far as I'm concerned, there is no bigger racist than a white liberal person who believes himself or herself to be the voice of black consciousness.
We see that across the board here as well, and they try to call it white guilt. Listen, I'm not guilty of anything but helping humanity. I would save the life of a black individual, Hispanic individual, and as much as I preach out against Muslims, if I came upon a car wreck or a situation in public where one was in distress for their life, I would help anyone,
Of course. Yes, of course.
And that's because God has instilled that in my heart, for humanity as a whole. Yes. But we're seeing not in the same barbaric degree of the whites being attacked by the blacks here, but we do see a very similar situation with your BEE over there, your Black Empowerment Program that they have implemented. Would be the same as affirmative action here in America, wherein we're seeing whites being excluded or being eliminated from a position, from education to the job place. They're being removed in order to put a black person in that position for education or to obtain that job. And it's really damaging the blacks as well, sis, because at the end of the day, Sunette, what they're essentially saying to the black population here is that you're too stupid to do it on your own accolades, exactly. That you can't achieve or rise above the white man, and it's truly the government that is doing that oppression, and it's not the white people as a whole.
I agree. We have the same, and we have so very many laws like that. We have affirmative action. But you must also understand that in our country, we are speaking about laws imposed against a 7% minority to protect a 90+% majority. So we have affirmative action, whites are being removed from the job place. We have broad-based black economic empowerment, where companies get black economic empowerment rating on different levels. And this is causing huge problems with charities in South Africa trying to assist white South Africans, because companies and individuals with companies cannot donate to white charities. It influences their status as a black economic empowerment entity. And then in turn, they won't be able to get contracts. So it's become such a nightmare. We have employment equity, where we have to now employ people in businesses equal to the demographic of the country. And then we have quotas in universities, quotas in sport. And it's gone so far. There's another minority group. It's the colored people, the colored community in South Africa. They are mainly concentrated in one of our provinces called the Western Cape. Now, the government is even saying that if because in the Western Cape, per se, they make up 27% of the population, but across the board in the country, also about 7%, that they should move out of the Western Cape and populate other areas in the country because they can't take so many jobs in Cape Town. So it's become hideous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we see the results of this. We see our infrastructure failing. I mean, we've currently been living for 4 months now with rolling blackouts, where we don't have electricity in this country for hours at a time because of affirmative action. They've appointed people who do not have the qualifications or the expertise to maintain our power grid, and no maintenance is being done on power stations. So we literally have periods of time in different towns or different suburbs throughout the day, throughout the week, where we have blackouts with no power. And it's become completely ridiculous. It's destroying our economy. Our rand is failing. You know, when previously to this government, the South African rand was equal to the US dollar, and now we are almost at 12 rand to the dollar. So you can imagine what that does to a country's economy and to our global debt. It's just increasing all the time at a rate that we can't afford to pay it back. It's completely destroying this economy, and the results that I'm trying to deal with of all of this is that the impoverished white community is growing disproportionately, and that charities aren't in a position to help these people because of the fact that companies cannot donate to charities that help white people. We've recently had a newspaper article saying that there is an orphanage that is going to have to shut its doors because too many of the orphans are white and companies aren't allowed to donate to that orphanage. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, my goodness. You know, you're saying that the rand is 12 to 1 on the dollar according to the currency exchange. That is very disheartening to me, and it's very alarming because the American dollar right now is failing miserably. There's a false sense of security. You know, when our government reports certain figures concerning certain issues, they always inflate or deflate the numbers in order to use it for some political platform.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and are you seeing that there as well?
Yes, all the time. I mean, especially with crime statistics, our education statistics, just about everything. I mean, they apply statistics, to whatever purpose they feel they need to. We, for instance, are now the rape capital of the world. We have the highest number of reported rapes in the world in this country. A woman is raped every 4 minutes in this country. We are in the top 10 of the highest murder rates in the world, and farmers are as a group facing the highest murder rate in the world at 120 out of 100,000 people white people living on farms are being murdered. Where the worst murder rate in the world, I think, is Honduras, is 90 to 100,000. In South Africa, our murder rate is 38 to 100,000, and for farmers, it's 120 out of 100,000. But you will never hear them quote those statistics because now they've imposed new laws saying that we can't keep crime statistics based on ethnicity. So we are not allowed to say whether the perpetrator or the victim was white, black, colored, Hispanic, or whatever nationality or race. We're not allowed to mention race. We're not allowed to mention race in any crime reports. So the statistics...
here in America, Sunette... Go ahead, sis. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. It's fine.
No, here in America, we're seeing the same thing, but not to that degree. Any crime that involves a white person or any incident for that matter where there is a black party involved, whether it be police apprehension or losing their lives at the hand of the police or a white perpetrator initiating the crime, whether it be on black, white, or white on white, doesn't matter. They always say white. But in any event that there is a reversal on that, they will not use black as a description in any of the news media coverage anymore. They won't do it. Go ahead, sis. Go ahead, Susan.
In South Africa, we have the same situation, but far worse. Actually, I think you have it there as well. When we have a black-on-white attack, we are lucky if it's reported at all. Then, if it is, they won't mention race. But if there is a white-on-black attack, and I'm now speaking of somebody slapping somebody else, somebody harassing somebody else, it is called a racist attack. If it's white on black, it's racist attack. No matter what degree of violence or whether there was any violence involved whatsoever, whether it was just verbal, it will be a racist attack. When you have gangs of 5, 6, 7, 8 black people attacking an elderly white couple, raping the woman, butchering them to death, then it's normal crime. And they refuse to acknowledge that race is an issue. They have never, ever reported on a single incident where there was black on white violence as a racist attack. It never. There's never been a race charge brought against a black person, whereas white people are charged with race crimes all the time. Whether these be serious crimes or violent crimes, or it's irrelevant. Saying, using a racial slur is a racist attack. Saying something derogatory is a racist attack, but raping a 70-year-old woman is not. So we have that issue, and this is why I'm in court, because I believe that race plays a role in these attacks. We're currently facing legislation where farmers' land is being taken away from white South African farmers, because the blacks believe that they are poor because they don't have enough land, which is also not even true. I mean, the biggest owner of land in this country is the government, and they are in a position to give more people land if they wanted to. But now black people are made to believe that white farmers living on land is the reason why they are poor, not because this country is badly run, not because the government is stealing their own funds or misappropriating it or losing it or doing I don't know what with it. But so they want the farmers off the land. And, if I say between 200 and 230 white South Africans are murdered in this country every single year, I am not even mentioning the fact that more than 400 survive brutal attacks. So, we are speaking of the murders together with the attacks amounts to almost 2 per day on white South Africans. And yet it's not considered racist. It's not considered a special problem. There's no task force investigating this. There's no special committee sitting on trying to solve this issue. It is simply deemed normal crime, and we are very, very lucky if it is even reported on in the media.
Wow. We're seeing that here. We have a little game that they like to play that many have lost their lives to. And we have flash mobs.
It's a knockout game.
Yes. And they are killing people. Now, I will say I have seen some reports across the board that they are attacking their own, that it's just a random game that they're playing. But for the most part, they target Jews and whites. And with that we're seeing in England, in Great Britain as a whole, the assaults in France, the assaults in Italy, the assaults in Sweden, we are seeing a vast attack on white, per se, by the black communities. And what is really alarming to me here in America is the Muslims have formed a great coalition with the black population to a degree that is very alarming. They're recruiting heavily inside the prison systems. They're recruiting in the suburbs, in the black areas, and I mean, Islam can be a whole nother show that I could engage you in, and I speak out about it constantly. They're very barbaric in their treatment of other human beings, and their initiative is domination, to control, dominate, and to slaughter infidels as a whole. But they have formed a huge coalition with the blacks in America, and we're seeing this across the board, and they're currently trying to make it, as it is in your country, a hate crime for people like myself and others to speak out and to tell the truth. You know, I reached out to Bridget Bardot. She's in France, and she is suffering greatly on her 6th charge by the government for hate speech for content in her books concerning Islam and the situation where whites are being targeted. So I haven't heard back from her yet, but I'm hoping to have her on the show.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. And yes, you know, here the reason they get away with what is happening in South Africa is that black-on-black crime is huge. I mean, you know, we have between 50 and 55 murders in South Africa a day. Mostly black people killing black people killing colored people, black people killing white people, black people killing colored people. But we do not have white-on-black murders. And to me, that needs to be the test. This is a one-way street we are talking about here. I mean, it's not as if we make up, say, 7% of the population, that 7% of the crime and 7% of the murders are committed by white folk. So that you could say, well, there's also white-on-black murders. There's also a lot of white-on-white. I mean, we've had white-on-white murders. If we have 223 black-on-white murders in the country in a year, we'll have an average of, say, 5 white-on-white, mostly family murders related, you know, like family suicides, family homicides, suicides. We have those. And those are a problem, I think, across the world. It's not unique to South Africa, but it's not the same. And the black-on-black crime is also not the same as what they are doing to white folk. They you know, going into our homes. It's not street crime. It's not crime related to white folk being out in the streets or being in bars and getting into fights. These are people being attacked in their home, mostly elderly, being tortured for hours. You know, another case that we had also in the beginning of the year when they killed so many people on farms in such a short space, we had a lady of 60. She was attacked on her farm. She's a widow. And she was kept in that house by her murderers for 5 days, where they raped her and they attempted daily to set her alight. It took them 5 days to get that house to burn. And, you know, what was done to her and what she had to go through during that time, only God will know. But, you know, that was simply something that was reported on once or twice. There was never, you know, a big outcry, except for on social media amongst groups like my own. And these are the things that I'm now being prosecuted for, is that we continually keep on reporting about this. We try and get people to know that these things are happening and engage in conversation. And yes, people get angry. Of course they get angry. Of course they are saying we need to defend ourselves. We need to do something. You know, but these statements that people make are reactionary to what they are reading, witnessing, and hearing about every single day. But, you know, you have to measure that by the result. If I have a page where for many years, more than 4 years now, I've been reporting on these crimes, people are really, really angry, but there's never been a violent result due to what I report. It's not like the people that follow and read these posts now go out into the street and commit crimes or revenge or anything like that. We are worried. We are scared. We don't know, you know, when this is ever going to end. We lost 2 more of our people yesterday. Last night, an elderly gentleman, 75 years old, 85 years old, was strangled in his home. And another gentleman of 62 was shot dead in his driveway when arriving home. It doesn't end. You know, every day you report on a new murder, and you know that within the next day or two you'll report on another. And every 5th day you'll report on a farm murder. And it's been 20 years of this. It's not stopping. The world is not speaking out against it. The government is silent. The government organs are silent, and now prosecuting people for speaking out against it instead of focusing on the issue, which is the fact that white people are being murdered, and the ones that aren't being murdered are being impoverished 20% of the white population of South Africa are living in utter squalor. They don't have jobs, they don't have homes, they don't have money, they don't have food, and they can't get aid. And the world is pumping billions into Africa. And the problem is just getting worse. It's not getting any better. It's not like the money is actually making any difference. You know, South Africa has always been the breadbasket of Africa. We've provided food, and suddenly we find ourselves having to import food because our farmers are being murdered. In 1994, we had 120,000 commercial white farmers. Now we have 29,000 left. Not provide for the growing population. And it is simply becoming an untenable situation. And if the world does not speak out, what is going to happen is they'll have 70 million more Africans to feed.
Let me ask you a question. What are your gun laws? What are your gun laws there?
Oh, my word. Several years back, the government tried very hard to disarm every white South African they possibly could. And they passed some bogus law, which ended up, where more than half the people who own guns ended up handing them in at police stations, and now we being murdered with those very same weapons. It's a nightmare to try and get a license to own a gun in South Africa. These processes take years to finalize, where you are stuck without a weapon to defend yourself and your family. So, yes, the gun laws in South Africa are impossible, and it's getting harder and harder to actually arm yourself to be able to defend yourself. Yes, and they are trying very, very hard to disarm us. You know, several years back, under correction, I think it was in 1997, we still had command. Those were a combination of police, army, and farmers that patrolled farming areas, and they were armed, and they could patrol farms, make sure that, the farmers were safe, secure. And these commandos were disbanded by the government. And they kept on making promises that they would put in an alternative structure so that farmers could be protected. Now, it has been almost 20 years late, and we still have no structure to protect farmers, and people are disarmed. So, and you have to keep your gun in a safe, locked up. So what is happening now is that these gangs attack people in the middle of the night while they sleep guns in safes, or in the middle, while they're outside having a barbecue or watching television, and then they torture them to unlock the safe so that they can steal and you will find that in every single attack, almost with ale, that the only thing they take when they and murder these people is cash and weapons.
That is very disheartening. I have a theory as to why the government, your government, is probably behind what's going on, and I'm speaking from knowledge of research that we've done across the globe. In order to establish a new world order, you have to control the food supply. And you're saying that now you're in a position in the Africas where food is now being imported and exported, where you were able to maintain a supply for your population for the most part. I mean, I'm sure you had import-export. We all have. That's part of the UN agenda.
Yes,
but there's big fat pockets and politicians around the globe that benefit from that import-export on food and supply. My question is this: how do you feel, with your knowledge, how do you feel our government is playing a role in the atrocities that are going on in Africa? Have you found any connection or tie? I know that we are a nation of power, and we know now that Obama is not a natural-born citizen. He is a usurper. I highly suspect he's not even from Kenya. Through our homework, we have found that he was placed by the House of Saudi. He appears to be black, but he, in fact, is Middle Eastern. And that's why the government doesn't like me speaking out. I tell the truth about everything. In fact, I'm the truth stinger. We have many teams to do research, and they do research in all areas. I ran for the governor of Texas, and I found opposition by my own government where during the middle of the campaign back in early August, I was getting in my car and approached by two men in suits who refused to identify themselves, but I know where they came from, that told me it would be in my best interest to cease my attempts to secede Texas and my run for governor to do so. And so they're very brazen and bold in how they try to silence individuals. But I'm seeing Obama ally himself with some, anyone that would have been considered an enemy to America and the Western world are now our allies. And we, I say we, the government, I certainly am not on board with it, have been funding terrorism across the board across this globe. How, if any, connection do you feel or influence do you feel the American and the things that are going on in our government may actually be affecting South Africa?
Becky, it's very hard for me to comment on that because as far as I'm concerned, the mere fact that the government is silent about what is going on here is perpetuating the problem. I mean, they know. It's not like we haven't sent information, letters, requests. We pleaded with local senators, with government institutions in the United States. We've pleaded with the UN. We've pleaded with the International Criminal Court to address this issue, and everybody is just, ignoring what is going on here. Now, it makes no sense to ignore this. It's a problem. And they were very keen to speak out on what they perceived to be atrocities 20 years ago. So they must be in the know about exactly what is going on in South Africa. It's pretty hard to try and figure out why people would not speak out against it and put pressure on this government to stop what is going on in this country. And how do you sit around and watch an entire economy failing, and that of a country that used to be such a strong economic country, actually a role player in the global economy, suddenly becoming another begging bowl, another African begging bowl. And that is why I have actually stopped trying to ask for help or assistance, government institutions. To me, the most important thing, and I think in your case it's the same, is to appeal to the people of a country. They are the voices. Yes. They make the decisions. In the end, they are the ones who vote people in and out of power, and they are the ones that can put pressure on their local governments to try and pay attention to what is going on. I do not have enough knowledge of exactly what the situation is in the United States. I think that worldwide governments are, very much aware of the situation in South Africa, and that it's not just the United States. I mean, it's everybody. It's the European countries where, our ancestors are from, that know exactly what we are facing here, and not doing anything. And one can only wonder about this, and there are obviously lots of theories, and it's very hard to prove conspiracies and things. And for me, right. I've never spent a lot of time on trying to do that because I try and stay focused and deal with the actual issues on the ground. People who are dying, people who are being murdered, people who are poor, people who don't have food to eat, and people who don't have homes to live in, is what I deal with every single day. And I try and focus my attention on that because that is something tangible, something that I can do something about by really working hard at it. Whereas, when you try and figure out what is happening globally and trying to, understand why governments are doing the things that they are, these things will keep you occupied for the rest of your life, and you won't get to a point where you can physically on the ground make a difference. That's why we need ordinary folk, people who love their country, people who are loyal to their country, patriots, to say, guys, not only in our country but across the world, there's something wrong, and as people, we need to do something about it. In the end, yes, governments are powerful. Yes, people in high positions are powerful, but in the end, It's the millions and millions of people, ordinary folk, that can make a difference. While we still can, we need to do it. We need to take back our countries. We need to take back our liberties, speak out against the things that are wrong without fear. If once you're governed by fear, then all is actually lost. We have to have faith. That to me is the only way, that I can even deal with every single day and the issues that I have to face here. Going to court against the government, trying to raise funds for an impossible cause, trying to get people out of dreadful circumstances. And if I don't have faith, if I cannot go on my knees and say, please help, because I don't have within myself the power or the influence or the money to solve the issues that I'm trying to, and that's what keeps me going. I think if I had to try and figure out where all of this is coming from, New World Order or whatever the case may be, I would actually go insane.
It sounds to me like you have the same issues in your country that we have here. I mean, we're on a constant daily basis trying to get people to wake up, stand up for their rights, defend the Constitution, and let their voice be heard. And that's why we do this show. We're trying to teach more people every day, what's going on in our country, not just our country, but the world. I mean, because we all know that what the elite would like is a one world government, okay? And if they can embellish all of us, get rid of us, and knock us down to a minimum, and keep a stranglehold pretty much on us. I mean, every country is probably trying to do the same thing in all the countries to all their people. And it sounds like you have the same problems over there that we have here.
Well, yes, that's very true, Bobby. But, I mean, it's very clever how they went about it. Through the generations, people have been taught to think for themselves less and less. We all being nannied. We all being told what to think, what to believe, what to read by mass media, by the people who control the media, and it's almost like people have lost the ability to think for themselves and to think towards the future. If we allow all of this to continue, if we don't stand up for our rights, if we don't defend our very right to survive, be safe, the basic human rights to have homes, food, jobs. If we don't, as citizens of each and every country, if we don't do this, then what's going to be the future for our children and their children? There was a movie, I think it's called The Matrix. Yeah, it is The Matrix. Where people were plugged into a system, where basically they were controlled to think a certain way, to act a certain way, to only see certain things. And only once you unplug yourself from that and you start looking at the world and through your own eyes and actually see what is happening around you, can you stand up and say, this is enough. This cannot continue. And I still firmly believe that we are in a position to do this. I want a better world for everybody. And yes, I'm fighting for the survival of people, my own culture, my own language, but I firmly believe that no society or country can be healthy if not everybody is looked after or everybody is allowed, air to breathe, space to live in, security, safety, food, jobs, all these things. And what is happening now is that certain communities, and I think it's the white population across the world, because we are still more in a mode of thinking for ourselves, developing, growing business. We are entrepreneurs, and that's perhaps why we find ourselves the focus of legislation to try and shut us up and get us to not think for ourselves. But we are still the ones that are going to either allow this to happen or not. And I still want to make a difference, and I want to make a difference for my people especially, and I need help. We need voices across the world to say, guys, You need to open your eyes to what is happening in South Africa, because if we cannot make a difference there, where it's still contained, we will end up with this situation across the globe. And it is happening. It is happening everywhere. I read an article recently that said that every single rape that was committed in Sweden in the past year was a black-on-white rape. I mean, this is Scandinavia that we are talking about. How did that happen? How did that happen? We had a case and there was a case in Italy where Italians were attacked by a black guy with a machete. He just butchered people in the street. I mean, how did this happen? And why are we allowing this to happen? What is happening?
Yeah, your guess
people?
is as good as mine. That's for damn sure. You know what? Let me give out the phone number. I've had some people message me and say, "What's the phone number?" Anybody that wants to call in, have any questions, comments? Otherwise, the number is 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. There's a way that you can also come on and you can do it through Skype. You can actually send us messages. You can call us through Skype. And that works also, and that's really about it. So,
Bobby,
Becky, I know you got some callers online.
I do.
So.
I do. I've got one with their hand up. I opened the mic up just a bit ago. It's area code 214. You're on live, Rage Against the Regime with Sunette Bridges. Do you have a question or a comment? Area code 214.
That's me, Becky, Connie.
Hey, Connie. How are you today, sis?
Hey, girl. Heartbroken about what's happening all over the world. I see it as depopulation. They're getting rid of the old and the people. And they're taking the younger people, and they control them. They can control. They're doing it in our schools now. They're teaching them how to think. And until there's a revolution and people stand up and says enough is enough, it's not going to change. We cannot vote these people out. We can fool ourselves and think that we can get good politicians in. But when they can't come on TV and tell what kind of person our president is without being crucified, we're in trouble.
Well, we're seeing this across the board. I think we're seeing this in other nations as well.
Yes.
Where there is a deep degree of infiltration of corruption. You know, this is biblical, Connie, to a great degree. You know, anybody that's read the book of Revelations understands that we are at war. And it is you know, we wrestle not with flesh and bones, but with principalities and things that are evil are becoming more and more prevalent, you know, across the board, and we're seeing this. The problem that I see personally, Sunette and Connie and the rest of the listeners, I'm sure you probably agree with me, is the manipulation of media by government to keep the populace at bay, with the truth not being announced on a regular basis. There is a huge degree of control.
I totally agree. And now what do they want? They're wanting to take our Internet. They want to control our Internet.
Sunette, this is Connie. I would like for you to meet Sunette. Sunette has taken the time to speak to us all the way from Africa today, and there's a huge, huge issue going on with white genocide in that country. Sunette, I have a question.
Yes.
Are you seeing a large population, and this is just curiosity, I've got one of the listeners that just texted me. They want to know, are you having the same degree of Islamic infiltration in your country as we're having here in America and across the globe? Or is this just simply black-on-white crime?
We've population are really not you to it. I mean, half of people, they are in high governance. We don't have violence from our Muslim community. Our problem is our huge black population and that are being committed by them. And then obviously our black government who is completely misappropriating funds, doing whatever they want. And just in relation, Johnny said something interesting. I heard an interview with Oprah Winfrey a while ago where she said that, exactly in line with what Connie has just said, where she actually said that the elderly folk just had to die and everything would be better because races, they're the racists and they should just, not be on this planet anymore. And that was the most shocking thing I've ever heard a public figure say. And I cannot actually believe that, she has a huge following. She's an exceptionally wealthy person in the United States. That the general public didn't, that there wasn't an outcry saying, how could somebody like that say something like that? I mean, we need to cherish our old folk. It is where all the knowledge, the experience, and the love of country and tradition and all of that is seated, is in the hearts and minds of our elderly folk.
Well, you know where I heard it from? I heard it from my nephew, 15 years old, overheard me and his mama talking, and he chimed in, and I was telling her about Obamacare, the death panel, and he chimed in, and he says, well, they have to. It's depopulation. There's too many people. From a 15-year-old kid is where I heard that. Now, that will bring tears to your eyes. That's what they're being taught in school. That's why we see shootings going on in our schools, mass murders, because that's what the younger generation is being taught.
Well, they're being demoralized. Our children for generations have been demoralized to believe that they are entitled to, without effort, benefits, education, across the board, the music, the lyrics are deplorable at best. We're seeing Hollywood with their influence of demoralization, and we see it across the board, and there are generations of degenerates because we have a lack of parenting in my country. I know this to be true. And people like Oprah, who is one of the biggest racists I have ever had the mispleasure of encountering through television. I've never met her in person, nor would I want to. I have no respect for a person like her who causes division. Sunette, I have a mixed family. I have black godchildren. I have black grandchildren and godchildren. I have a black grandson. He's half caste, and he is from my birth daughter. And I have a black son-in-law. And so it makes it particularly difficult for our families when we don't see a color division or race within our household to maintain a balance when our children are exposed to it outside of the home to such a degree that, our black grandson had been picked on in the past for having white siblings, and equally the white children being made to defend their little black brother. And this is ridiculous, the degree of division that has been implemented across the board, and I'm talking globally, by government entities oppressing one to compensate for another. Listen, we had this conversation many times on my show. They want to talk about black slavery. Well, in my country, we haven't had oppression against the blacks since the 70s. Affirmative action, we've got the black college fund. You can't have a white college fund, but you have a black college fund. NAACP, and I'm sure you have equivalent groups there in your nation that represent the black individuals. But what we're seeing across the board here with the affirmative action, one thing that is very disturbing to me here is that we have a different set of expectations for college entry concerning your scores here. Yes. And the Asian population. Yeah, the Asian population is being told that they have to achieve the highest score in order for entry to secure a spot in a university here. And the blacks are being told that they only have to achieve the lowest. Now, what are they essentially saying? Are they saying that my black children are less capable or less intelligent than the whites or the Asians or the Hispanics? I mean, what kind of message is that to be sent? Why is it not that all of humanity, every color, every ethnicity, why, in fact, is it not the same score that needs to be achieved in order to obtain that spot in a university? And we're seeing the affirmative action like you, where the incapable are being placed in positions of detriment in business, where you yourself have stated that they're not capable for the position, and now you're without electricity. Your grids are going down because you don't have the people in place that have been educated and have the experience to continue to sustain the infrastructure for your country.
But that's exactly my point, Becky, is that racism is institutionalized. I think if ordinary folk were just left to get on with it, people who, were taught that you needed to work hard to achieve certain things in life. If you wanted to go to university, you had to work hard. These things are exactly the same in South Africa. There's a sense of entitlement. And I'm again going to reiterate the fact that it's white folk doing this. It's white folk that have made black people believe that they should get away with working less hard, having lower scores, not having to achieve as much to be paid the same, being put into positions that they're not qualified for. And I don't understand how people like myself, who says this is all nonsense, is the racist. It makes no sense to me, and that's why I say the power to change all of this is in the hands of ordinary folk. It is very sad to me that I have been labeled a racist because it has made it almost impossible for me to engage with the black community in South Africa. They are being told that I'm a racist. If I had to, we have 11 official languages in South Africa. We have lots of different ethnic groups in South Africa. If a woman from the Zulu culture, Zulu group, had to start a charity, which obviously we have many of them, but she starts a charity where she focuses on, for instance, the education of Zulu children, she would be hailed a hero for that, for focusing on her ethnic group and being concerned with something that has a direct influence on them as an ethnic group. But if you dare do that as a white South African, you are in serious trouble and you are simply a racist. And
wow.
I just don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. The laws are not being applied equally. So it makes it extremely hard. And then in a country where you are part of a 7% minority, across the world, minorities are protected. In South Africa, the minorities have become the scapegoat for every single thing that is wrong in this country. They keep on telling us that we don't have enough white guilt and we have too much white privilege. There's no such a thing. And I don't know what it is I'm supposed to be guilty of. And I don't understand the white privilege. I didn't have wealthy ancestors. I didn't inherit farms, businesses, companies. My father was a singer, an artist like myself. He earned his living with his voice. He didn't take anything away from anybody else. And in a country where the music industry, for instance, has always been an equal playing field. In fact, black artists have always had a larger audience, have always been promoted. I don't come from a world where there was that kind of discrimination. Now to find myself in a position where if you want to assist a group of 800,000 people to get them out of poverty, the mere fact that they are white and Afrikaans speaking like myself makes me a racist.
I agree, Susan. What we are experiencing is a global issue. I think one of the things that is also very disturbing to me, when we have an appeal on our televisions here in America,
whether it be by CBN, TBN, UNICEF, late night cable commercial or infomercial, the impoverished children in dire need of assistance because they have no food, no shoes, no water. There is never, ever a white child displayed in advertisement appealing for donations for help. They're always Asian, brown, black, anything but white. Even to a degree of brainwashing through our own Christian organizations, implying that whites are privileged. That's a subliminal message. It's implying the idea that whites do not suffer.
We have the same, and what is even worse is that there's a stigma to white poverty. It's the general belief that if white people are poor, it is by their own fault. It is because they are either stupid or common or it's never because of the situation that they find themselves in. It's never portrayed in the same way as black poverty. In South Africa, black poverty is something that they blame on white people, firstly, and that the institutions pay great attention to, whereas white poverty is almost something that people don't want to touch. Poor white people are bad people. They have to be bad people. How else could they be poor? They're white. They're privileged. They shouldn't be in that position. And it's ridiculous because we face the same economic situation, the same circumstances. And now we have, as white people, have more obstacles to get over due to legislation, due to affirmative action, broad-based black economic empowerment, employment equity, quotas. I mean, we have 194 race-based laws in South Africa.
We're seeing that across the board here. We're seeing the black athletes being preference. The way that this has happened in America is a coach in the high school will see a bit of promise for talent, athletically speaking, and they will press that black student in grades in order to have them on their team to improve their own personal record of victory for their curriculum, because their salary is based on their achievement of wins to losses, so to speak. Then you see colleges recruiting them based on those lies. They do the same in colleges, and subsequently what we have is more blacks who are being put into athletic programs based on their color being put through from high school sponsored college into sports. And the problem with this is they're bitching that there is not enough in the sports industry, that they don't control enough of the ownership. They don't control enough of the management now, when they clearly dominate by easily 2/3 or a greater percentage of the occupied positions on their teams across the board, with the exception of baseball in America. Now we're seeing in Hollywood these black liberal activists and even whites, as you spoke of, pushing the black more affirmative action in Hollywood. We're seeing mostly across the board the equal amount of airtime to blacks and whites diminish completely in some channels. Well, we have a black entertainment channel, but if we had a white entertainment channel, it would be racist. We have a black college fund, but you can't have a white college fund. You have NAACP, but the ACLU has to comply with NAACP standards, and they cannot be pro-white. And what I see also is that creates a great divide. Dividing a population is a very strategic, logistical move by government as a whole in order to conquer a nation, to give the booty or the bounty, if you will, to the ignorant, the less educated, the less informed, that are more inclined to be violent, to feel slighted by. And that's what they've done. And it creates a violent environment, and they do exact genocide on populations in suburban and rural areas here in America. Based on that, they're the foot soldiers for control. If they can keep the people fighting, if they can keep the people killing one another and create hatred between them, the people are not focused on the fact that government is governing over them, as opposed to the people actually being the body of government employing these politicians. And we're seeing this across the board in America.
Well,
they want to control.
We have exactly the situation. I mean, in South Africa, we can have a black anything. We have a black lawyers association, black gun owners association, black estate agents association, black, I don't even know how many institutions we have, black businessmen association, but it is completely illegal to have a white anything. You cannot have a white anything in South Africa. It's not allowed. We do in our constitution, have the right to form cultural associations. But the moment there's a cultural movement that focuses on the Afrikaner, that would be labeled within minutes as racist, end of story. But white, we are not allowed to do, which is also very clever, because in South Africa, we obviously have the Afrikaner community, of which I am a part, and then we have English-speaking white South Africans. Now, saying that we can form cultural movements, but not based on skin color, only based on our language and culture, is causing a division between white South Africans. Because we can form communities, say, for Afrikaners, but if we include English people, it becomes a white community, which is illegal. So now English-speaking white South Africans are feeling excluded because they feel like we are alienating them, but our constitution is forcing us to do that. So, it is so intricate, it is so complicated, but I still believe that, we can appeal to the power of people. We can still appeal to the conscience. I must say, as a South African, I have the greatest respect for the United States citizens, the patriots, the people of the country. I do not think that there's another country in the whole world where people are more patriotic, where, we don't have people that hoist the South African flag in front of their homes. We see that on television, the image that is broadcast of the United States to the outside world is that you are a very strong people, and that you are a very patriotic people, that you put country and the love of your own people above all else. And if that is the case, then that is wonderful, and then you still have the power. If that is not the case, then I would appeal to the American people to take that back. You still are in a position where you can. I watched with great interest when you had the 1 million bikers who went to Washington. It was the most beautiful sight to see. And I believe that movements like that can still make a difference, and that the American people should not let their power go and not have their voices silenced. You have a great country that is still savable from whatever wrongs you may perceive or might actually be happening in your country at the moment. And it is a pity that our children are being indoctrinated in schools. It's the same in South Africa. I mean, the history that they are being taught is completely out of whack with the truth. So if this generation, if we do not make the difference, then I'm afraid nobody is going to be able to.
The issue that you're having with your education there is global, and the thing that got me fired up and actually sent me into political tizzy or motivation, that was my motivation, is the fact that I have grandchildren in the Waxahachie School District here in Texas that were being exposed to a Common Core curriculum, and at the time our government tried to be very clever about this curriculum that is a global curriculum that has been put into place by the UN called UNESCO. They called the Common Core here CSCOPE. And in every state, this is how clever our government is, they gave it a different name, but it was the same curriculum. It is an Islamic UN-based curriculum written by Islamists, published and printed by Islamists, and marketed to the federal government by Islamists, marketed to the states by our government. Great Ponzi scheme, which manipulates the minds of our children and brainwashes them through that curriculum. And you're correct. It is inaccurate information. The books that we have here are teaching our children that jihadists are freedom fighters, these terrorists that are wreaking havoc around the world, are freedom fighters, and our founding fathers were actually terrorists. They are teaching the pillars of Islam. They will not teach Christianity, Catholicism, or any other religion in school. It's against the law here, but they are teaching the pillars of Islam. They're making our children say prayer to Allah, to say Islamic prayer in school, to wear burqas, to visit mosques. We are seeing that's what fired me up. That's what fired me up to get involved, to become motivated enough politically to step up to the podium and say, I'll be bold, I'll run. Texas is the only state in the United States that can actually secede from the Union without congressional approval out of Washington, because we were not a part of the original Union. We came in after the fact. We were actually Mexican territory. So that's why I stepped up. Thought, I can't break away from the government and all this prejudice, implementation by the government. I can't save my country, but I can save my state. And I can do that through secession. And one of the things that I really, really wanted to do, if I were able to get a victory in that, would be to eliminate a minority button. Eliminate it. Why, if we are all created equal in God's eyes and under the Constitution of our country, why then do we have exception for or entitlement for a particular race that just continues to breed hatred and confusion and genocide, and it feeds a criminal system that the courts feed off of that crime, the prison system, this billion-dollar industry.
Well, I followed the secession of the state of Texas with great interest.
We are still working fervently to secede my state. I work with several groups. We have a convention coming up in March because I truly see the only way to break away from this global stranglehold, this DOJ that is propagating hatred and division, that is essentially given a green light to kill whitey by the blacks across the board in total disregard for law enforcement, waging war on our law enforcement by our own government via the people. It has to stop. And the only way that, like I said, we can't save our whole country. I work with everybody, 50 states. I've got people I work with, constitutional think tanks, and how can we bridge the divide? And I do all of these things. It's a constant battle. It's a daily battle of educating folks and trying to get them on board. But at the end of the day, I cannot save my country, but I can save my state. I have that privilege to be from Texas and to live here and do the things that I want to do. And there's no reason for what's going on with the white genocide in our country other than your government is allowing it. In fact, they're creating it. The war has been waged on the white population in South Africa, and that is very clear. And we need to do something to be able to reach out and help fund programs like yours and the orphanages and see if we can't do something positively out of America to make your achievement easier in order to help support you. I think that you'll get less resistance from your government if they see that you are getting recognition globally and that folks are watching them and that we see what's going on and that we're going to extend ourselves as human beings financially and doing things like this on Blog Talk Radio where we can bring you on and let you keep us abreast of what's going on, any advancements that have been made, or God forbid, if it's getting worse, we certainly want to know. But what can we do to help you? What would you like my listeners to know, and where can they go to give benefit to your cause financially?
That is our country in the world is facing great difficulty and has its own social issues. But we spoke about the exchange rate earlier. You must understand that something as much.
Is there a fund or is there a place where my listeners can donate money? Sunette, are you still with us? I think we've lost you, Sunette. I can't hear you.
I can't hear either, Becky.
Sunette?
Yes.
Sunette? Okay, we couldn't hear you. Is there an address or a direction that you can give us to donate funds for your cause?
Absolutely. Project that I'm currently.
Can you hear it, Becky? I hear her trying to talk.
No, I hear her trying to speak, but I'm not getting anything she's saying. Sunette, can you call back?
I heard her going in and out a little bit.
I think we have a bad connection, Sunette. If you can call back into the show, that would be great. We can't hear you.
It's got to be the government doing their finest work today.
Yeah, well, we got to the point of financial, so of course that's probably it. Bobby, this is very disheartening. And Connie, I think she's going to try to call back in. She's dropped off the board.
Yeah. Yeah, she is.
This is
we had a lot of callers. We had a lot of callers online, and they kind of fell off. She's back now.
They're getting bumped. I'm getting text saying I got bumped off the call.
Right, Sunette's back on. Welcome back, Sunette.
All right. Hi, Sunette.
Very
I'm
much,
sorry,
Bobby.
love. We couldn't hear you, hon.
That am I. Hello? Am I back on?
Hello. Sunette?
I'm here.
Yes, ma'am. Can you give us information where our listeners can donate to your cause?
They're not letting it through.
I see that. The government really doesn't want us to help her, do they? Wow.
No, I've got a cousin though.
Go ahead.
I've got a cousin, Martin McKinney, there in Florida, that twice a year they carry containers, money, and food down there. He's with a church organization that does this.
Well, I would certainly like for you to give that information to Sunette and who that gentleman is, and if he's already transporting goods and services or goods and money out of Florida to South Africa for the white squatter camps and the orphanages down there that are harboring these white children who've lost their parents due to the atrocities in South Africa, we certainly want to help get.
Yes, he goes on missions 2 or 3 times a year, and I'll have to find out the name of the organization that he's with. It's a church organization.
Yes. Okay. Well, Sunette is a Christian woman. She's also a Christian singer, and she may well be aware, possibly. Sunette, are you back? Sunette? Sunette, can you hear us? Bobby, are you getting anything from Sunette?
Clearly?
Yes. Sunette.
There she is.
I'm here.
All right. Is there a address or a GoFundMe or any kind of a charitable organization funding that we can support?
Yes. Can you hear me now, Becky?
Yes.
Right. Do you have for the TV?
Yes, Sunette.
I'll give that. It is www.KLEINVALLEI.co.za. But if people find that, they can just search Sunette Bridges, my website, which is www.sunettebridges.com. There is a link to my charity on the homepage of my website, and all the information of what we are busy with, what we are doing, what we need, and how people can help is on my own website and also on the website of my charity.
God bless you. You know what? We're going to drive traffic there, and I think Bobby would be in agreement with me that this is something that needs to be addressed, and we need to push funding your direction so that we can help those folks. You know, the article that Diane sent me was so disheartening, and it spoke of the people being pushed out of their jobs and out of their homes that they rented and even owned by the government and by the landlords, stating that they had a better offer, and they would convert these homes into very small cubed rooms for black individuals to occupy, pushing the whites out into those squatter camps that you speak of, in the most horrific and horrendous conditions. And they're not being protected. They're not being protected. The people, the black raiders are coming in those camps and torturing, beating, and taking the women, the children, and killing the men. Am I correct in that? Sunette, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Am I correct in that assessment on the squatter camps and the conditions?
So in the squatter camps are absolutely hideous. They're forced out of these squatter camps and left on the street by the government. They've not been physical attacks on squatter camps. I mean, they have nothing, and they have no facilities. I mean, they don't have electricity, toilets.
And they have no health care to speak of, correct? These children and women and men are dying of diseases, and they cannot get treatment. Is that correct?
What a wonderful job that our government's doing today. Or should I say Blog Talk Radio? Who knows which one it is? Every time she's trying to give us the information or trying to tell us about, something that might be able to help raise proceeds for her, cause or whatever. We've got some other chaotic situation with the people doing their finest job, being the government or Blog Talk Radio to block it out. So I don't know. I don't know if she's actually still on with us.
She's dropped off. She's back.
Okay. Yeah. It's just, oh my God. It gets me so mad. There she is. I believe she's on. Sunette, are you with us?
I'm back. Thank you very much. It's
there. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you, Sunette. Go ahead.
Oh, that's good. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, isn't it very strange that the moment we started talking, suddenly I was... behind.
Yeah, and it keeps happening.
Yes, but if people
Wow.
They can find me on
Sunette, every time you start to tell us about it, it'll let you get about 3 words in. It makes you disappear. Then towards the end of whatever you're saying, it brings you back in again. I mean, it's Lord only knows.
I will give the information out. I think I gathered enough. Sunette Bridges has a website, folks. Obviously, we're having a little NSA difficulty here. And for those folks over at the White House courthouse that are listening, welcome to the show, Rage Against the Regime, where truth stings and I'm the deliverer. Sunette Bridges has a website. And you folks can go to that website, Sunette Bridges, SUNETTE Bridges, and you can find her fundraiser for us to be able to send funds to South Africa to help in her cause to fight the white genocide and to, if at all possible, help assist her in her battle in the courtroom with her own government for that hate speech that they have strapped her with as a false charge, in my opinion, and shame on them for doing that. Sunette, God bless you, man. I'm telling you, sis, you are truly a hero to me. You stand up for truth. You stand up for what is right, what is godly in principle, and for giving us information about the atrocities that are occurring in your nation. It truly sets light to a direction that I feel America is headed for with our division amongst the people of color and the whites in this country. We certainly don't want it to the point that you folks are suffering over there in that division with the barbaric treatment. Sunette, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, and I need to thank you while I still can and while I'm on the air.
Sunette, we would love to have you back on the show. You have an open forum at any time. You have Karen or yourself contact me or Bobby, and we will be happy to do a follow-up show with you concerning where you're at with your trial, and if any changes, whether they be good or bad, is furthered in the situation that you folks are in over there in South Africa. And certainly I know I can speak for my listeners on this one. You know, God bless you. God bless you for everything that you're doing. God bless your feet and your hands wherever they lay. We know it is for a good cause and for a godly cause that you do these things. And may He surround you and your family with a hedge of protection during this time of trouble. I appreciate everything that you're doing, so let me thank you.
I have to thank you for the and God bless you and God bless your country. And I know that if the ordinary folks stand up and say that they've had that is wrong, that we still have the opportunity to turn things around.
You touched on a point earlier, and you said people in your community need to stand up. And the way that we are really fighting here in America is that we are really pushing to get involved in your communities at your local level of government and apply pressure so that they understand and take a message back to your governments and your capitals that we are not going to tolerate or take these situations any longer. We are certainly in America not on board with the genocide of any ethnicity across the board, globally or otherwise, and we will fight for their freedoms and for their rights. We are the protectors. The Lord has put the sword in our hands and placed us on a path to deliver truth and to deliver His people. And God bless you again, Sunette. I just can't thank you enough for coming on today. and you've raised my eyebrows certainly to the truth of the atrocities that are going on there. We get a little wrapped up in our own atrocity right here on our soil, and I think that we forget there are other people who are in much worse position than we are in worse situations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much again. I mean, words, and really just people speaking about what is happening in South Africa is what voices. We need the support morally as well, obviously, as financially, and we just want to thank every single person that listened, every single person that will take action after all of this. I know that you will. Thank you very much.
Well, Bobby, do you have anything for Sunette, brother? We are at the 19-minute mark. I'd like for you to give out the phone number again. Everybody keeps getting bumped off my board. So if you could give that phone number out again, that'd be great, Bobby. And if you have anything you want to say to Sunette, I certainly would like to see you engage her in that conversation.
The phone number is 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. Anybody that wants to call in, if you have any questions, comments, or otherwise, you can press that number 1. Let us know that you want to get online. We'll try to get you on as fast as we can. As Becky said, we got, less than 20 minutes here. I actually do have quite a things. I wanted to ask a question. I remember that we had something that was big in the news here for a little while about Coney 2012, and I guess he was, some big leader of, I forget what it was. It was a group there in, I don't know if it was South Africa or just Africa in general, but I guess he was somebody that was like terrorizing and part of, the groups that were raping the children, and he was actually stealing, young ladies and children and stuff like that for sex trafficking and drugs and, part of arms and all that type of stuff. Did the government, was it actually overhyped? And did the government, if it wasn't overhyped and it was a true story, did the government ever get that kind of regulated, or has it become more overwhelming?
I mean, we have...
Looks like it's happening again. Yeah, it looks like it's happening again.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Well, Connie, could you give your information out on your cousin, or do you have that with you?
No, I don't. It's Mark McKinney.
Okay.
I'll contact Mark tonight and find out who his contact is over there, and I'll send it over to you, Becky.
And I'll get that to Sunette and Karen so that they have that
as
well. Okay.
Great.
Okay, you know what? I just actually got some information about Sunette that we can actually share since we can't hear her. Let me give it out. www.KLEINV-A-L-L-E-I.co.za. I will read it again. This is where you can donate. www.KLEINV-A-L-L-E-I.co.za. And then, also, if you would like, if you buy her music, all proceeds go to the Klein Valley. I don't know if I'm saying it right, Klein Valley. But you can go to Sunette Bridges, which is SUNETTEBRIDGES, just like it sounds, SunetteBridges.co.za. And That's where you can purchase her music, and all the proceeds go to the Klein Valley to the Klein Valley funds. And if you're if anybody wants to find out more information, as Becky said, she does have a website, so on and so forth. But people, please get on top of this. I mean, it's very, very important. They have a lot going on over there. I mean, Sunette was so kind to donate her time. She's a big star. She's an international known recording artist. She's doing so much for her country and everything, and she's fighting a case for hate speech. And, it's unbelievable that she has to go through the whole court procedure and everything just because they thought that, they should fine her and, put her in court for the whole hate speech thing. But, let's keep in mind, you have to believe in what she believes in. She believes in freedom, not just in her country, but in our country also and all over the place. She's fighting on a daily basis, just like we are. But she stands alone. Okay, there's not too many people in her country that are doing what she's doing, especially somebody of her magnitude. Okay, we're talking about a world, renowned international recording star. Okay, and somebody that is known throughout the world, and she's standing up to these people, and she doesn't care. She wants the truth to be known, and she wants Freedom Bell to ring. Okay, so if you can, I'll read it again. Klein Valley, it's www.KleinVallei.co.za. And then if you want her music, it's Sunette Bridges.co.za. All proceeds go to the same to her charity.
Hey, Bobby, we have a caller on the line. It actually has a name in 001, so I believe it's going to be a caller from outside of the country. You're on live, listening to Rage Against the Regime with Bobby Ritter, Becky Williams, and Sunette Bridges. The name is MEISIEKIN 001. You're on live. Who have we got? Hello? You're on live.
Hello?
Rage Against the Regime. Yes. Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. Who are we speaking with?
All right, my name is Henny DeBruin.
Welcome to Rage, sir. What have you got? You have a question here for Sunette? What comment or? The mic is open.
All right. Actually, I'm calling you from South Africa, and I'm one of the supporters of Sunette Bridges. And I want to tell you that this lady has got an enormous uphill battle in this country. We have been, privileged in the previous regime. But as from 1994, this regime currently in control, well, they have been taking it to the extreme, to the other side, and we are battling to keep it together for our own people.
I've listened to Sunette, brother, and I support her cause completely. And I believe that if we can gain more notoriety to the truth and to Sunette and the cause that you folks over there are fighting for, and the enormous opposition that you face in doing so, not only do I believe that we can help you make a difference in your own country, but we can help people globally. This radio podcast is listened to in 26 different countries, and I certainly expect that after this show, we will be getting a lot of folks who have similar situations concerning race issues that will be contacting us to both comment and to join coalition with you folks. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. What, sir, are you doing there to help Sunette?
Well, at this point in time, I'm actually actively involved in this project of Kleinvallei. We are in the earthworks business, heavy machinery and that kind of thing. But apart from that, we're also into the finance business. So we tried with the little finance we do have available to finance a project that is absolutely ignored by our government, to try and finance and help our people to survive, uplift themselves to a normal living standard. Once again, what they've been used to, so we are absolutely battling to get our own people up to a normal standard or normal standard. But yes, the government might not be willing to help us. The problem, however, is that they absolutely go out of their way to suppress us with legislation.
Do you feel, sir, that you can make changes in that legislation, or do you feel that it is too far gone at this point to have the corruption removed that we're seeing across the board in many nations, but in your own?
Well, I would say us as a people, our own, in this country, are not able to change legislation. We need help from outside, from other countries that experience the same situation, that see that this absolute racism that's taking place once again in this country. We need to take action to avoid and to absolutely stop this, because it's an atrocity taking place to a worse degree than it took place before.
Let me ask both you and Sunette a question. Have you or your organization approached the Hague Criminal Court for crimes against humanity, and has anyone thought about a writ of mandamus being filed against your government for crimes against humanity in that court?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I do. I can hear you. As far as my knowledge, I do remember that the Hague was approached, and it was said to us that we need to resolve it internally with the mechanisms that's available to us within our government and within our country before we can approach the Hague. So therefore, we are actually back to square one with no help whatsoever.
Sunette, do you have any further information on that?
Well, yes, several organizations in South Africa have approached The Hague. We have laid criminal charges against the government. We have laid criminal charges against the president and the previous one, Thabo Mbeki, for disarming the farmers, for leaving them unprotected. And as Henny has correctly stated, they have said to us that we have to use all the internal procedures that we have available before we are allowed to approach The Hague. Now, we have obviously tried. I mean, we have gone every possible avenue, and we are not getting any joy, and nor are we getting from The Hague. We've approached the UN on several different occasions from several different organizations, and we've gotten the same answer. Solve it internally. Now, it's not possible for us to solve this internally.
Well, and you're at a point, obviously, when you reach out to The Hague that you feel there is no internal ability to do so any longer within your own government, and that's very concerning to me. Now, if you've reached out to the UN, you well know that a man who has as much as waged war on the white populace here sits in the security seat, which is actually against our laws, and it is an act of tyranny. He should have been removed for being placed in that position to begin with. Constitutionally speaking, would be Barry Santoro, a.k.a. Barack Obama, who is part of the Muslim Brotherhood, but he sits in the Security Council seat of the UN, and his control is for humanitarian crisis, the deployment of opposition to atrocities like the one you're facing. And we most certainly know that this usurper sits in our White House. He also sits in that power position in the UN. And I know most certainly that he will not be able to help you, especially if it is a black and white issue. He could care less. He hates white America. So I would guess that he could care less about what's going on with the white genocide in Africa. His stepbrother is part of the Muslim Brotherhood and the regime and president in one of your countries from Africa and Kenya as well.
Yeah, like I said, you know, whoever's in charge there and whoever needs to make these decisions has made it very clear to us that we have not exhausted all our internal avenues, and that we still have to approach several different organizations in South Africa, which obviously we have, and we've tried to engage with government. We've had protest marches across the globe. We've sent them, in accordance with our constitution. If you send a petition to government signed by a certain amount of people, then they have to respond to that petition. If it was brought to their attention, they have to respond to that petition within 20 working days. Now, we started submitting petitions to government in October 2013 already, and all that we've ever received is emails saying that they will respond in due course. Now, due course has been more than 2 years. They simply don't even acknowledge or respond to anything that we send them. No requests, no petitions, no anything with regards to the security situation, with regards to the murders of white people, with regards to white poverty, with regards to our rights enshrined in our constitution that say that we are actually in a position where we should be allowed to govern ourselves. We've asked for this. It's been ignored, and it's been ignored by the UN, and it's being ignored by The Hague. So, yes, other than people standing up for us across the world saying we need to give these people a voice, we really do not have any other avenues.
Sunette, we have a caller with their hand up. Area code 936. Who's calling?
Hey, this is Reverend J.C. from American White History Month. How you doing, Sunette?
I'm well, and yourself, great. Reverend?
Reverend, do you have something that you would like to add, sir?
Well, I'm just let her know that we're out here. We're still supporting her. We put your radio show on the page today, and I'm hoping you got some callers coming in, Becky. You're doing a great job. I know she was on with on another radio program yesterday, and we've had her on before, and she's welcome to come back and talk to us anytime she wants.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for listening to me previously. I definitely will speak to you guys again. I can't wait to give you guys feedback on my court case, and thank you so much for the incredible support that I've received from American White History Month.
You're quite welcome. We are your voice.
Thank you very much.
Sunette, it's not surprising to me. I want to add this before I run out of time. It's not surprising to me that you have not had results, in The Hague, simply because Egypt filed charges against Obama and this administration 3 years ago or 4 years ago for his hand in overthrowing Egyptian government in order to implement Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood. And there were criminal charges. Many Christians were slaughtered in the course of that takeover, and thereafter, even after the military came in and established a coup. The Hague was actually, to my understanding, created by the UN Council, as an international court, and it's to my understanding that in 14 years they've only had 2 convictions in The Hague.
Oh, my word. So what's the point then?
Yeah, and that's why I asked you those questions. We have to apply pressure to that Hague entity to stand up and do exactly what we as a population globally were given, which was supposed to be a just means to opposition of government. Pardon me.
Yes, I agree, but like I've said, we have tried, and obviously we have never had any joy approaching The Hague, which is quite shocking because, one would think that would be the last resort, but that at least you would get some results from doing something like that. But, if from our perspective, they've not been supportive, they've not been helpful, and they most certainly have not taken any steps to call this government to order.
Is it not interesting? Is it not interesting that the very organs of state placed in order to protect the civil, the people of the country, that it's used to prosecute the very few people to try and to actually protect the people?
Jimmy, let me go.
Reverend, I want you to form a coalition with us, if you will, here at Rage Against the Regime. We really need to push together. We can, if one can put 1,000 to flight, 2 can put tens of thousands to flight. And I would like to exercise my right to do that. I would like to form a coalition with you where we can merge our efforts collectively with you and Bill Bohart and Roxy and some of the other folks out there that are helping Sunette and her organization get their word out in America. I don't know what your listening audience is, but I know that today we reached 26 different nations, and that speaks volumes. For us to be able to do that, that is supreme awareness being initiated at its finest. And I would like to reach with Bobby's permission, of course, to form a coalition where we can work collectively together and we can bring this back to back.
That works for me. We've dedicated our Thursday night programs to what's going on in South Africa, and you're more than welcome to call in any time. You know my home number. You can call me anytime too, Becky.
All right. I suggest that we do what Bobby and I have done in order to grow a broader audience, is form a coalition with other Blog Talk channels who have the capability with studio to stream us through every avenue of their programming as well, even if it is by archive or by a live preview of our show. I would like to do that with your show anytime that you're addressing Sunette and her organization. If you will contact me ahead of time and give me a heads up, I'll schedule a way to stream that through our listeners as well, and we can double up on time is of the essence. We can double up on our efforts, and I believe make a broader impact.
But we can do that. I can when we have a program with Sunette on, or we have another organization that we work with, and like I say, Thursday nights are dedicated to South Africa, and you are more than welcome to call in any time. So you just
all right.
We post a show every day.
All right, Bobby, how do you feel about forming that coalition, brother?
Yeah, I'm always game into anything that's gonna help get the word out and help us grow, and so on and so forth. I mean, we're here at Rage, we're trying to grow every day. We keep adding different hosts, that people want to hear and stuff like that. We just added Casey Massey, the great patriot. He's going to be doing a show, 1 or 2 nights a week. And we're just, we're trying to grow at leaps and bounds, but the main thing is getting the word out and allowing people to be able to voice their opinion also, and to get their word out. We like to do open mic here, where people can call in and tell us about things that are going on that we don't really even know about. So this is a perfect outlet. I'm glad that Sunette came in today and told us what was going on her end of the country, and it helps. See, this is what I say every day for a show. I want to be able to learn something every show. Okay, so if I'm not learning something every show, then I'm not doing my job as a host and bringing people on here. I want somebody to be able to teach me something, and I want somebody else to learn something in the process. So that's what we're all about.
Well, Sunette, and to the gentleman, I'm sorry, I missed your name. You were a little broken up when you came in. What is your name again, sir, from South Africa?
It's Henny de Bruin.
Henny de Bruin.
That's correct.
I used to have a business partner that was Afrikaans, and she would try to teach me Afrikaans, but I do understand the accent, so we're good.
That's tough.
It's a beautiful accent, and it's a beautiful language. Sunette, Victor, is there anything that you would like to add before we close the show? We have lost Sunette once again. God bless her.
Okay, I was going to say, yeah. I think she disappeared again.
Well, you'll need to tell her she will not be able to call back in. We've gone past our live time. We are on.
Yep, absolutely. Well, you know what? Here, let me say something just really quick. I want to thank Sunette for joining us. I want to thank the people that were responsible for getting her hooked up and bringing her in, and getting her on the show today. And I want to thank everybody that called in and shared, and otherwise, I've been checking the numbers as we go here. Really, really good response, and, a lot of people listening online, so I'm guessing that's coming from her end of the world. So, but I'm getting ready to close out myself here because I got to start the truck here, and I don't want nobody to hear it. But thank you all for...
Close the show. Close the show, brother.
Oh, well, I thought you had some other people on. I mean, I don't want to interrupt, but
no.
I just want to... I just want to thank everybody that had a chance to call in, and everybody that was able to get in here and talk with us. It's always nice to meet new friends, and always consider yourself welcome here on our show. If you ever want to call in, we try to do shows daily. Not each one of us daily, but we try to have a show talking about things that are going on that have to do with our government, governments worldwide, anything to do with these supposed people that are our new world order and all that. But what we're about is we want to talk about the current affairs, and we want to, try to come up with a way to try to help fix our problems. And you know what? It's not just here at home, as we heard from Sunette. It's a worldwide issue. And, she's in South Africa, folks. That's the other side of the world, okay? She's facing the same thing that we're facing, if not worse. So, with that...
Bobby,
yeah.
Her life is in danger even more
Sure.
so because her own government is propagating the genocide of the whites in her country, and being that she is speaking out and obviously gotten their attention, being brought up on charges, speaks volumes for her safety. So continue to hold her in your prayers, folks. And the gentleman that joined us from South Africa, God bless you, brother, for what you're doing, and also I pray for that hedge of protection. Bobby, we will have another guest, Scott Porello, Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. on Rage Against the Regime. He comes to us from the Moretti Underground. We're going to be speaking about the atrocities of the VA, a young vet who gave 3 limbs in duty to this country, has had his benefits cut after speaking out against this government on live television. I believe he was either on Kennedy or what's that other guy? O'Reilly, the O'Reilly Factor. He was on one of the mainstream television shows, and he actually called Hillary and Obama out on what they're doing to this country and what they have done concerning Benghazi. And now, suddenly, after 9 years of drug problems, getting his benefit check, he has been cut off. There's now an issue with his funds. So we'll have Scott Porello on Rage Against the Regime live on Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Look for the show. Tomorrow is most likely going to be an open mic. Bobby, what time would you like to schedule the show for tomorrow?
I'm not so sure I'm going to do a show tomorrow. I think that might be Casey's day. We haven't worked out the details on what day he's going to do a show as of yet. He's called me since I've been online with you here, so I need to call him back and find out what's going on. But I'm gonna, I'm trying to get it to where I'm only doing maybe 1 or 2 days right now because I got so much going on, and then I have to kind of talk about next week because the whole week I will not be available. So other people are going to have to take up time slots and stuff like that. So it's things to talk about for here in the future, but I'm going to call Casey back. Maybe Casey will be doing a show tomorrow night. So people look forward to that. Casey Massey has joined our family. We're very, very proud to have Casey on with us, and that's about it.
All right, and to the gentleman in South Africa, God bless you, brother. You have an open mic here at any time you want to call into the show or schedule a show. Reach out to Karen Smith and Sunette, and we'll make that happen. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for listening in. This has been Becky Williams and Bobby Ritter on Rage Against the Regime podcast.